Welcome back to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. My name is Juri Love. I'm your host. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we are recording episode 110. Before I introduce our guest tonight, I want to introduce myself and my book. Again, my name is Juri Love, and my book is called A Gift from Adversity, which is the same title as this podcast. And subtitle of this book is Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. This is available on Amazon. If you search A Gift from Adversity and Juri Love. This is a book about my life and my adversity that I experienced in Japan, and it's published in 2020. And after I published my book, I got a lot of messages from all over the world sharing their stories, and I felt very compelled to start a podcast where people can share about their adversities, but not only that, share the tools that they use to overcome and the gift that came from it. And I'm very grateful that I'm able to continue this podcast and continue to have wonderful guests. So let's invite today's guest. Hi, Beata. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Hi, Juri. I'm so happy to be here and thank you for invitation.
Absolutely. So, Beata, let's start with who you are, where you coming in from, and what you do for your work. And if you have a website or social media, you can share.
All right. So I'm originally from Poland, but I live in Colorado, United States for the last 11 years. And who I am? I'm a person, a girl, I say, this girl from Poland that decided to move to United States. What I do, I help people, especially leaders from all backgrounds, to truly be themselves. And my main message is lead from within. So very often these people that I work with, they look outside for something that can be created only from within, and I'm helping them to go back to themselves, find out or create who they really are, and we move from there. Except of that, I'm also a Reiki practitioner, shamanic Reiki practitioner, and right now I'm studying breathwork. So I'm still like student in progress.
And do you have any website or social media people can follow and learn more about you?
Yes, you can find me on all social medias: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But my website currently is I have website under construction, Lead from Within, and the website that is still working, it's beatalifecoaching.com. So it's BEATA lifecoaching.com.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. So
Thank
let's dive into our first question, which is the adversity. So can you tell our audience what was your adversity?
Are you ready for that story? I'm not sure. Let's go there. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, I come from Poland. I was born and raised during communism. And for people who are not quite familiar with that term, it's basically the time in your, well, whoever is not experiencing it, you live in a country that you have basically no rights, that your government is the one that decides about everything for you. And the time when I was living there, there was like nothing in the stores. You had food stamps for like very little food. So it was the first adversity, but I was small and I didn't really understand what that's mean. So you don't desire what you are not aware of. So I didn't know that the world is bigger and has more to offer. I was just watching my parents, how much they struggle with everyday life, but they were strong enough to show me that I can push and I can survive. So then it was the first adversity that I experienced, and I'm so grateful to my mom, especially, that was so strong and was always telling me, kid, if you cannot follow a leader, you better become one. And the leader in my life is this everyday person that wakes up in the morning, looks in the mirror and say, I'm gonna lead myself today no matter what. Lead at my best. So I will do whatever I can to provide for myself and for the family, community, whoever you are leading. And the next adversity that actually showed up in my life, it was also early. I was just 7, and I experienced car accident, traumatic brain injury, and I was told, well, I was not told at first. I overheard that after I don't know how much time I was not awake, but when I awake, I heard the doctor talking to my mom, and I just heard them saying, "Mom, you need to understand that your child will never be normal." That was very crushing for a little kid. Even I didn't really understood what is the meaning of that, but what I knew at that time, it means that I'm less. It's what I heard. I'm less, I'm not enough. I heard that they said she will never be like the other kids anymore. She won't finish probably school at all, or she will basically be like a veggie. But so if she survives the next couple years, it's great, but don't expect much from her. So I started crying, and I didn't know what is happening. And I was just like, I want to be normal. I want to be normal. I want to be like everybody else. And I remember my mom came, and thanks for her wisdom at that time. She said, "Kid, my lovely child, you do not want to be normal. You are not normal. You are special. You are God's miracle child." That gave me hope that there is a bigger mission for me. That gave me hope that I can decide who I want to be. So starting there, I didn't really follow the doctor's descriptions about me, the doctor's story about me. I decided back then at a 7-year-old that I will write my story over. So I finished whatever school. I even got into university. I've got my master's degree at the end. So I proved. But for a very long time, I thought that I'm proving them. I'm proving them that I'm better, that I'm not less, that I can do whatever I want. And later in life, I understood that actually for all these years, I was proving myself. I was proving myself that I am enough, that I am strong enough, that I can do and build the life I want. There were a lot of obstacles during that time, and I was up and down with my stories. Well, sometimes, yeah, even at school, when I didn't get the grade that I was expecting, there was this fear, I'm not enough, I'm not like the other kids. But I was able to overcome it because I had that belief in me that it's up to me what who I want to be. And then I'm well, that's the funny story, because in the meantime they were saying that I won't be able to have family and all this stuff. So I met my Prince Charming, and we were together for a very long time, 11 years, very in love, and it was beautiful relationship until it wasn't. So it was the next adversity that came just before our 11th anniversary. My fiancé left me for someone else, and it crushed me. It crushed me more than when this accident that when I was 7 year old, probably because as a kid you just don't care. And when I was already close to my 30s, and in my small town back in Poland, when you are 30 and you don't have family, the social rules is you are less, you are just not useful, and you're just not like other people. So this limiting belief from the past came back. I'm less, I'm not enough, not having even a relationship, stable relationship. And that time was tough because I actually fell into depression, and I reach out for help to professionals, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the doctor that I spoke to, he just said, "Well, you are young, you will be fine. You will find someone else." And it was the only visit that we had. It was not that easy for me. I was not ready for another relationships, and I had even thoughts of killing myself. It was dark. I was in a very dark spot for a long time, but without that, I guess I wouldn't be here. So I'm grateful for that experience too. So at some point I was really on the bottom. So sometimes we have to reach a bottom so we can go up. And I was at this bottom. I was lying on the floor looking at the fan, and I was like, just God, please help me to just die, or I don't know, be killed, because I cannot kill myself. Just please take me from this earth. I don't want to be here. And I don't know if it was God or my ego or what was it, but you are not done yet. So that message gave me hope somehow. And I started looking for different help. It's how I got into self development. I had different mentors that helped me actually to rewrite my story. So I fell into the victim story for a very long time. So almost, I think, 5 years, when I was depressed and was going up and down with my moods and thinking who I am or who I am not. And so, as I said, they helped me to rewrite that story, to shift my mindset and start believing in myself again. I think for whoever is listening to us, your audience, my audience, I hope, remember, you do not have to go through adversity on your own. Reach out for help. And I did it. I'm here today. I'm very happy. That shaped also my future, because I was equipped with many tools that helped me to become who I am today and put me on a path that I am also today. I'm a coach and a speaker, and all what I do is helping people to overcome adversity. So, but continuing my story, when I decided to move on, I decided that it's not the end of my life. I still want to be here. So I also decided that, well, maybe it's true, but Poland is not enough for my pain. I'm gonna move. So I moved to the United States. And the funniest story is that I always tell my audience that when I was packing my stuff and getting on the plane, they allow you to take only one luggage. Right? Back in the time, it was two. Now it's one. So I had two luggages. But I always say that the luggage that I really was carrying with me, it was on my shoulder. So wherever you go, there you are. And my emotional pain and the stuff that I still didn't work through, I brought with me across the ocean. So my adversity just took different shape. So I healed a lot of stuff back in Poland, but moved to United States and faced new adversity. Well, first, English is not my first language, and I thought that, well, I'm pretty good with my language. Then you have all these people with different accents, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what they are saying. And the limiting story came back. You are not enough. You are not like everybody else. Then I had pretty good job at that time and work with customer service. Customers can be really mean sometimes. I mean, whoever is working with people, that. And I experienced sometimes not very kind words, like, go back to where you come from. Is there someone who really speaks English? And again, the story, you are not enough. Go back where you came from. You never be like others. You won't achieve what others came back. But then I was already equipped in more tools and knew that I don't want to go through it on my own. So I reach out for another mentors, for another their coaches that helped me to get stronger and stronger. And that was the path again to where I am today. I decided I was even more sure that I want to help people, that I want to work with others that not always believe that the adversity can be a gift, that think that adversity is the end. Very often it's for me as well. I learned that my adversity actually was the beginning. Without all these experiences and adversity, I would not move to United States. I would not meet all of these people. I wouldn't be here on this podcast show. I wouldn't meet Juri and people like her that are so open to share their adversity gift with others. So that in short story. And if you have any other questions, I'm open to answer.
Sure. So let's say I know you mentioned a little bit of tools how you got to where you are, but let's save that for the second question. But let's dive in a little bit more. I know you mentioned three major adversities, or maybe fourth, coming to America, and then facing discriminations, etc., which I did, and which I still am experiencing, unfortunately. But let's go back to the communism part of it. And then a lot of us don't understand what the communism is, and then what is it like to live under the communism. And then I know you are young, but what do you think your observation is? Because you mentioned a little bit things about, grocery stores and food and struggle. What is it like to now you are in the United States, compare now observing what was going on when you are growing up under the communism?
Absolutely. First of all, you have no voice. You have no voice. Your thoughts are not yours, really. They tell you what you're supposed to think, how you're supposed to behave, what is right, what is wrong. You you are just like a robot. You have to follow it. And if you don't follow it, then you have punishment. And punishment can end even in imprisoning you or killing you. So it was my reality, but we are in a very small village far from the big cities. The really bad stuff was happening mostly in big cities. But even I remember, well, the not fortunate part for living in a village was being far from food. And I remember my mom, just to get food, could have to go to bigger city. So she would wake up like 3 a.m. We didn't have car, we didn't have anything, just bike. So she was riding her bike to the train station, and I was small and she had no one to. I was the youngest of four, but my siblings, they were, yeah, going to school. So when she didn't have anyone to leave me with, so she would put me in this basket like on her bike and take me with her. So I was very small. It doesn't matter if winter, and winters in Poland are really cold whenever. So the 3 a.m. with this little kid, get on the bike to the train station, take a train or a bus, change train again. It was crazy to get to this bigger city. Then you had to, why so early? Because you had to get in the line in the Queenie. So you had to take your spot in the line. So the farther you are, the less chances that you will get the food for the entire family. And it was, again, just some portions. You could have like 1 kilo of sugar and one piece of bread. It was crazy. But the scary part of that was that people, instead of being united and help each other, it was surviving. So they worked against each other. So I remember I was so cold and hungry because we left home so early. and it was like 7 a.m. and there was some store opened where my mom could get a piece of bread for me or some donut, which you don't even, the taste was not like donut, it was awful, but something. So she just left the line where we were waiting, yeah, for our turn to get into the store. It was outside, we did not even get into the store, you couldn't get into the store. And she said, okay, I'm leaving my kid, and it was maybe like 4 or 5. My here, I be across the street, get her a piece of bread, and I will be back. And these people said, okay, we will keep eye on her. And she left. And the little I knew, they kicked me out of the line, and I had no clue. So I was just standing there. I was like, okay. And I just wanted some food and something maybe warm to drink. And so my mom came back, and they was like, oh, you were not here in the line, like now you have to go on the back. So but the funny story is that my mom, she was very feisty, and she showed me that when people make you less, you have to stand up for yourself. So she started yelling at them, like, I was here since 3 something, not 3, 4 a.m., and I'm not gonna leave. You kick my kid out of this line just so you can have more food for your family. So that was very disgusting and scary thing. Instead of being united, people were separated, and it's scary today too. So always think for yourself. Always think that separation is not gonna take you anywhere. Be united. It's my bad memories from that time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like I can't even imagine not going to a grocery store,
Yes.
even, you know, and not having access for food as a child. And then you have to go so early in the cold and get kicked out from the line.
Yes, you cannot listen the music that you want. You cannot listen the radio that you want. You don't have any channels at just one that they allow you to have on TV. So it's really, you have no rights basically.
Wow. And then let's go back to your car accident. So
Okay.
what happened? Do you remember what was the accident like?
So the interesting thing now when I think about that is that I don't remember much or anything almost from before the accident. So I don't have my childhood memories, only what my mom told me. The only thing I remember is that very, like, maybe time just before getting into the car with my father is what I remember, but I don't remember when I was very small. I have this, like, partially, like, I remember for some reason that standing in this line, but it's like, pieces of what I remember, but I don't have the full memories of my childhood from before the accident. And then, so we were getting in the car. I don't remember where we were going, but on the way back, so it was the main street, and then we had to turn in the, yeah, to my house, to the, like, on side, this smaller street. And I remember we were going, and I saw my mom riding her, yeah, it was not even our car. So my father was driving someone else's car, and my mom was riding her bike from work. And I was like, oh my gosh, mom. I was so excited to see her at home. She was my best friend. And then I assume we're supposed to turn, because I remember the light that you turning, indicator light you put on. So I just remember the sound of it. But then it was like boom, and I don't remember anything else. So when my father was turning, obviously the huge truck hit us from the side where I was also. And I don't remember anything else. I just, from what my mom told me, she was keeping me in her arms. I was not conscious, and they were waiting um, for the doctors to come. Yeah. And it was also the time when we didn't have cell phones, so they had to find this phone in the village. Like there was a couple of people that had phones, the line phones, and called for ambulance. So it was taking some time, and basically when I got into hospital, I was unconscious, and they were just doing everything to save me.
So you said you are maybe 7 years old.
Yes, I was 7 years old. I supposed to be in a second grade, but then I couldn't go back to school, and they said don't send her to school at all. Maybe she can take a gap, like a year, or who knows, maybe she will never go back. But my mom was, thank goodness, she had her own thoughts and said, okay, how about homeschooling? So she arranged with the teacher, because the second grade you have the same teacher, like, yes, it's still the same teacher as the first grade, I mean, at least where I was. And she knew already that teacher, and the teacher was coming like twice a week, and like slowly were teaching me so I can catch up for the next year. Maybe the hope was, and I did catch up, so I joined my class in the next year. And yeah, but it was very weird, because I want to go to see my friends, I want to play with my friends, and I couldn't, because they were so afraid that I will get epilepsy, that I will get seizures. It was that, like, basically they said, you cannot be too excited, you cannot be too stressed, like you cannot. It was like the old, song that I was hearing: you can't this, you can't that, you can't jump, you can't run. So that, but again, is when you're a child, you don't really listen. Sometimes you just do what you you just do whatever child wants to do. So I have this memory when they said do not run, and I saw one of my family members coming to visit us, and I started running because I wanted to hug that person. And I started running, and I hear my mom, do not run. She's screaming at me like, do not run. And I knew that it was my brain injury. So in my mind, my child mind, it was like, oh, maybe if I keep my head, so my brain won't shake too much, and I will be still running. So I was still running, just keeping my head like that, hoping that my brain won't shake too much. That's funny.
So with the traumatic brain injury, did you break any part of body, bone or?
No, that's the funny thing. Nothing in here. I still have very deep dent in my scalp, because something like went through my scalp, some piece of the car. I don't remember what was it. So it was like you could see it through, and they thought to put some, I think, metal thing to cover it. But the doctor, thank goodness, at that time, he said, well, let's wait with it. She's very small, and her bones can repair by itself, hopefully. If not, we still have time to do the another surgery to put this metal thing. But thank goodness I healed. I mean, I still have a dent. I'm very lucky that I have hair, because they were afraid that in this I won't have any hair in that area. It's like big, like a fist, like this size. The hole was that big, and so I can still like touch it. And that was another thing that why I was ashamed of when I was going to the hairdressers. I was always ashamed that they will touch it, and they, oh my gosh, what they will think. That so interesting that I was, for a while I was ashamed of that accident, until I own it. It's part of my story, it's part of me, it made me stronger. So I have to own it. And since then, it's not a scar that I'm ashamed of, it's the scar that reminds me that I am strong.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
That's part of my story, I guess.
And let's actually focus on your relationship and then the fiance who left to another woman. And I am Japanese, where we were taught to serve men, and then we
Yeah.
were trained to serve men. Almost your purpose is to marry somebody, have kids, and have the perfect life, and so much of pressure. How is it in Poland?
Well, it changed a lot since then, but at that time, and it was similar. Like the biggest achievement for women, it was to have family. Yeah, get married, have family, and serve the family. And even neighbors, I remember, it's like, oh yeah, you can go and have your studies and your yeah the masters or whatever they said you are studying, but it's just for your own satisfaction. But what you really need to focus on is to find a man that will marry you, have kids, and it's your life. But deep down, somehow, I knew that it's not my destiny. Like, okay, it's what you are saying, but it's not my life. Like, I know that life is bigger and I want to travel when yeah it was already communism was over at that time, so I was like I still want to travel. I was hope to visit another countries, but yes, and it changed a lot since then in big cities especially, but small villages or even towns, the pressure is still the same. If you are single and you're after 30, you're like someone who didn't achieve anything in life, and you can have career whatever, but they will still judge you that oh it's you're not good enough.
It's definitely the same in Japan, and it's definitely changing, but part of it, abuse happens, and then part of it is um the expectation and the social pressure, and then the people gossip, people talk down on you, and those are the things that I faced myself too. But when your fiance left, obviously you are going to get married. How was your friends and family's reaction?
Family and friends were very supportive. That the danger in this supportive part I realized later is that I was a victim at that time, right? I felt as a victim and they joined me. So they were crying with me and they were assuring me that I am a victim, which is not healthy, really. Because you at that time, you don't want to really go deeper into that victim mode. You need someone who will give you a hope that not only hope that will give you tools also to leave it as soon as possible. I was in this victim mode for too long because of my family and friends were assuring me that it's your right to be a victim. Yes, you should cry, you should yeah do whatever you are doing, which was nothing, lying in bed and crying and even getting deeper in the darkness. Then I noticed that not family but friends started avoiding me because yeah, like how long you can listen the victim? Nobody wants to be with a victim for a very long time. So when I noticed that they are avoiding me, separating from me, I was like, oh, you don't love me, I don't. So I was running again my limiting story and even going deeper in the victim mode, and until the time when I was like okay, that's enough, it's time to move on.
Yes, it's very weird concept, especially like coming from different countries, and like people don't understand the depth of this pressure, getting into relationship, perfect marriage, all that stuff. And that pressures us more when it doesn't work out, which is normal. And the relationship is always the hardest thing. And like you said, you want to kill yourself, you went to depression, and all the stuff is, I would say, extra pressure and a brainwash that we had experienced as a child, and
Yeah.
then even like media, soap opera, all that stuff too.
Absolutely. I agree. And if I can add, it's the social pressure, yeah, and this from the little girl when I hear that your main goal in life is to have husband and to have family. And if you you fail if you don't. And I was so long in this relationship, and we were spending, like our families were spending time, Christmas and all holidays together, and then it's ended. And the very ugly thing in when, yeah, couples are done with each other, or they decide together, or one of them decides that doesn't want to move forward with the relationship, that the friends that you used to have together, they take sides, right? So all the friends that I have from my fiancé side, they stopped connecting with me because they were not my friends anymore. Like, how so? How we were spending all vacations together, how everything, parties together, and then because, yeah, he decided that we are not together, you stop talking to me. That was very painful also.
Yes, I completely understand. And then coming to America, let's talk about this a little bit. So, as an immigrant,
Yeah.
and so you mentioned that when people say, like, is there anyone who speak English, or like, go back to where you come from? I heard that from my Asian friends, especially during the pandemic as well.
Wow.
But you are not Asian looking, you are more Caucasian looking. And how is it so that people would say such a thing?
It's because of accent, right? I have an accent and I will always have my accent. So if I work in hospitality, so if they didn't receive whatever they wanted, like sometimes, let's say front desk, and I work at front desk, and they wanted this room with this view which was already taken, so I cannot create you something that is not available. And they were very upset, so then they would get even more upset. Or if their credit card got declined, it was also my fault for some reason, and they got upset. Then they started saying, is there someone who really speaks English? Go back to where you come from, and all this, you are just an immigrant. Remember who you are. You're just, yeah, that was another one. Remember who you are. You're just an immigrant. You will never achieve anything in here. So I said, oh, so I was crying a lot. I was taking it very personally. But later on, when I was educating myself and getting all the tools that my mentors were giving and sharing with me, I realized that it's not about me, it's about them. They must be very unhappy in their own life, so they take it on me. And so then I was just smiling, and I said, okay, that's my fault, all right.
So it reminds me a story of when I was working at Starbucks. True story. I was a shift supervisor. I had a store key. I have all the power. And these American people come, same thing. Is there anybody who can explain about my latte? Or some
Right.
somebody even contacted like district manager or regional manager to try to fire me because they said I made an awful coffee, and it's like $3, $4. And then I had another black employee girl. He did the same thing.
Wow.
So people definitely say stuff, and then I still get discrimination. And then instead of like say, "Do you speak English?" they say, "Can you speak English?"
That's funny. Or the funny thing is when they really like slow down and say, do you understand? And I say, yes, yes.
No, I remember. No, seriously, I remember this colleague at Starbucks. She was in medical school at the Boston University, which is one of the prestigious school.
Right.
And this Caucasian woman came and she said hot chocolate, and then she said what size, but she thought like she didn't understand English, so I she was screaming at her, and they
Yeah.
said hot chocolate. So she yelled at her back and said, "What size?" And then it was just like on and on. So I
Yeah.
don't think, unfortunately, as an immigrant, um, I don't think it's going to go away. Even I'm a journalist and I'm a front cover journalist. People always say, "Do you understand?" And yeah, I've written 500 articles so far. And
Some people always gonna stay the same, or their beliefs gonna be the same, and they will discriminate, but they really discriminate themselves first, probably in their own lives. So I always say to whoever is experiencing that kind of discomfort and being discriminated or other adversity, ask yourself, like, what you have power over. You don't have power over these people, you can't change them, but what you have power over is your response, right, to what is happening. And don't take it personally, because it's not about you, it's about them. They are probably very unhappy in their own life for so whatever reasons, and they don't really see it, and they take it on others.
well, thank you so much. And you shared a lot about the tools, but let's change our topic to the tools that you use.
Okay.
So I know you mentioned a lot of things during our conversation, but can you please tell our audience what are maybe the top tools that you used that worked for you to combat these adversities?
Sure. And before I will mention the tools, I want to make sure that the audience hears that the tools might change with your growth. The tools gonna change for you as well. So the tools back at the powerful tool back in a time when I just started getting into self development was journaling, and I still use it, and it's so powerful. It was, the tool that I could use anytime, and just dump my brain there, the frustrations, and I knew that nobody's gonna get there. It's just for me. And it was very helpful, right? So your nervous system, when you're upset, usually we reach out to our journaling, to our journals or notebooks when we are not happy with our lives. We hardly ever write, "Oh my gosh, this was such a wonderful day." But when we are upset, when adversity comes, we like, not everyone, but a lot of us likes to go and write, and it was very helpful. The brain dumping, what is one of my tools that I was introduced to by my very first coach. And so it was like just write and write until you not only dump everything from your brain, but also from your body. So the emotions, to put the emotions on the paper, and then get rid of it by putting into flames. I don't know if anyone will like it, but it was really helpful to me. The other tool, it was and still is meditation. And I actually, at the very beginning, I had no clue what is meditation. I thought that I do, but I didn't really. So I was very unhappy that I cannot really focus. It's the thoughts are coming. And later, I started practicing with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's when I learned, and I'm continuing this training with him till today. And it's why when I learned what really meditation is about, that is connected with breath, and the breath is really the first tool that is putting you in this meditative state, and helps you to really drop and put this whatever is happening around you on the side and be present. So meditation, breath work, journaling, still movement. Oh my gosh, going to the gym and getting these frustrations or the life, unhappiness out of me there. It's also very helpful. So movement. Uh, and I think one of the most important, I'm not sure if it's a tool, but I use it as a tool. Create your community of people that will support you no matter what, but they won't be there only when you are happy, but they will be there for you, especially when adversity comes. And they won't keep you in your victim mode, but they will lift you up and give you a hand and show you, hey, it's temporary. You've been there already before. You have all tools in you to move forward from it. And working on your mindset, mindset is very important, because the environment and the events that we are experiencing, it's the story. It's not really what happens, but the story that we tell ourselves about what happened. And we believe that what in keeps us stuck and holds us back from living fully and moving forward.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that tools. So my last question is a gift that came from the adversity. So what do you think a gift that came from the adversity?
What a great question. I think the biggest gift for me is freedom to be myself, no matter what. I'm not ashamed of my accent anymore. I'm not ashamed to say what I really think, even someone doesn't like it. I know today that other people's opinions are not my business. I have to live for myself. I have to show up for myself every single day. So freedom in all levels. It's mind and body. It's mine. So freedom.
Well, thank you very much again, Beata, for coming to a gift from adversity. I have a big favor. If somebody is from Poland and maybe listening to it, would you say some advice in your language that maybe people can resonate, or maybe you can have some advice for maybe people who went through similar things with you, like you, and then maybe can be uplifted by you?
Absolutely. Wow. Nigdy się nie poddawaj. Idź za swoimi marzeniami. Wszystko jest możliwe i to wszystko zależy od ciebie. Dziękuję. Thank you.
The only Polish I know is cześć.
Cześć.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story today, and then thank you for being a part of this movement with us.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you to our audience. I have more guests coming in for a gift from adversity. So stay tuned.